as I've moved from town to town. And yeah, I just find it fascinating, using land well.
That's pretty interesting. So are you still intrigued by, especially with the latest movement in, sustainable buildings and
Yes. So when I did my architecture thesis, I actually used an architect over in Australia for my inspiration. And he was doing a lot of green architecture. And he worked with Aboriginal tribes over there. So it was pretty neat. And this was back in the 90s when, green architecture was just budding. So it's always been a passion of mine.
are there any favorite buildings of yours that you might want to mention or?
Oh my goodness, the Fish and Wildlife Building, if you've ever been in there, it's gorgeous how they incorporate the outside and bring it in. There's just so many unique ways to do things well. There's a one of my favorite things that people are incorporating nowadays is solar panels and water retention on roofs. It just seems like such a win-win, especially in bus depots and parking lots. I think it's amazing that you can, like REI out in Natick, they all their parking spots are covered, so you don't have to deal with snow. And they use the coverings are solar panels, so they're generating electricity, or converting electricity. And then they're also doing water retention off of those solar panels, and they're using them for all their toilets. It's just so cool. They're using everything. I would love to see like every school bus depot doing this. Never have to clear another school bus.
Wow.
That's so neat, right? So
Yeah, that is very neat.
yeah.
So I'm not going to monopolize the conversation here. Mike, do you have any questions or comments or
Yeah.
favorite buildings?
Sorry. My laptop just acting up a little bit. I think I forgot to turn the screen timer off. But yeah, no, Kelly, thank you for for coming back to the Conservation Committee here in Northborough. I mean, just your resume and your all your accomplishments and things that you've done, on top of having an awesome ice cream place, is very impressive. Obviously, you speak with it with passion, which is great. Sounds like you really have a real drive and passion towards this. So I don't have any additional questions about picking apart your resume or anything like that. But thank you for coming back, and I would just say if other great qualified people like yourself, we always have openings on different committees and things in Northborough, so we're always looking to fill those seats. So but
Thank you.
yeah, no, thank you, and and thanks for coming back.
Thank
And
you.
Greg, would you like to say something?
What can I possibly say? I mean, this is a slam dunk, right? So no, Kelly, I mean, the commission is Kelly's got experience. She's been in the commission before. I think it's pretty well balanced with the people that are sitting there. They all bring something special to the commission. And Kelly certainly brings her passion, which you feel right here. So plus she doesn't mind getting on their boots and mucking around out in the swamp. See, that's very important. So yes. No, we'd be thrilled to have her back.
Great. So can one of you, by any slight chance, do you know what % of Northborough is covered by wetlands?
Off the top of my head? Who, me or Greg?
Either one of you, do you happen to know?
So I have no idea. My habit when I am asked questions is to just go to the data. So I would pull up a map and look it up, because every time I try to make a guess, it's not good.
It's pretty high.
I was just wondering if off the top of your head you knew, because clearly wetlands are very important and should be appreciated more, right?
Well, the challenge Northborough has too, Juliana, is that from a building perspective, all the easy building lots have been dealt with. So everything that comes now has some sort of issue for the most part. So
interesting. So it makes your job more difficult.
yeah, yes, and the commission I think tries to strike a balance between protecting the wetland resources and personal property rights. So we try and balance between the two of those. So,
Wow.
It's an opportunity to get creative
Mhm.
and to look for the solutions, because there's always solutions there. We just have to scratch our head and figure out what the solution is.
Well, that's a good attitude. So I just have one thing that I was kind of curious about. In your field work, Kelly, you did a tree inventory in the town of Framingham?
Oh yeah, straight out of college. Yeah, so I have actually walked every single street in the now city of Framingham. And I measured, so when I was in school for wildlife biology, part of the wetland delineation, vascular plants, invascular plants that I was studying, I just fell in love with plants. And after college, that's when everything crashed back in, let's see, 2006, 2007. I had just bought my first house. And the town of Framingham was hiring. So I went and became their tree inventory specialist, and then was bumped up to recycling coordinator and then eventually supervisor and heavy equipment operator. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was fun. It was great. They have some amazing trees there. It was my first experience with tulip trees, which if you've never seen a tulip tree, it's a gorgeous tree. So it was interesting. They have some great trees.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I guess you know the schedule. Usually we review that, but you know all of that. And I think, unless Mike, you have any more questions,
No, I think I'm all set.
we started late, but we'll end sort of on time. If that's okay with you. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't really. I think being on the commission fairly recently, I feel like I know what's going on. I have been spying the meetings online, so I stayed in the loop because I was always curious as to what was still going on, but
Great. So if you recall, Mike and I will, undoubtedly move you forward, and your position will not become official until the whole board votes, which
Okay.
our next meeting is July 15th.
Okay.
And when is your next meeting? Do you know, Greg?
the 8th.
The 8th. We can't do it any sooner.
Yeah.
But
That's
we'll do
okay. I'll spy from the web.
Okay. Well, thank you both for coming.
Yes,
Super.
thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. Kelly, we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Okay, next up we have Erica Zeiger. I don't see her in the waiting room yet. Liz Nolan will be joining if we have any questions. Oh, there's Erica. All right. I will let them both in. Hold on one moment.
Hello, Erica and Liz.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Erica's enjoying the beautiful day.
I am. I'm sitting outside.
I envy you. So, Erica, have you met Mike? TJ
No.
and Liz, have you?
I have not.
So
Hi,
Mike
Mike.
is our
Hello.
new member on the select board. So he's a little bit new to this whole process, and I must admit that I'm not that accomplished, but we'll have a nice conversation about your application, Erica.
Sure.
And Angie will be helping us with the technology.
Perfect.
So Erica, not everyone gets the application, and usually we start these meetings with, what made you interested in the scholarship committee?
Oh, sure. So I know Liz, and I was looking at different committees, and the scholarship committee, education grants, and different things like that is always something I've been interested in. I do a lot of that at work. So I just thought it was a good fit for me.
Certainly from your resume, it sounds like the perfect fit.
Yes.
So Mike, if I can just ask a question, then I'll turn it over to you. So it seems like your committee has two different kind of missions. One is to raise money and one is to give out the money, right? So,
That's correct.
So Erica, maybe you could just comment on how your experience will kind of help you in making both of those decisions and, you know, helping the committee.
Sure, I will do fundraising first. Not my favorite. Truly, be honest, it's not my favorite. But I think that I have learned through my employment that education seems to be common ground for everybody. So it's I don't want to say easier, but it is easier, honestly, to ask for money from businesses or even individuals when they know it's going towards a scholarship fund. So I know Liz has done everything under the sun. So she's got all of that, but you know, I could help, you know, distribute things to different businesses. I know that I mentioned it to Liz. The grocery stores sometimes have, you know, they will give a portion of their bags, you know, like the reusable bags that you buy. So they'll give a portion of that to some local nonprofits. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we can fundraise. But I'm also happy to just kind of stick with what they're doing because I know that they're doing well in fundraising as much as you can. As far as giving money away, that's my favorite. I love to give the money away. So I've worked on different scholarship committees, granting different amounts of money and coming up with different criteria and then just ranking them and talking them over with the group. And I just think it's a great opportunity for obviously the kids that get the scholarships, but also the town to know that this is here and this is another avenue for families to look at when they're looking at getting money for school.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How do you get that information out to the students?
So, I guess there's a third part too of, you know, there's fundraising and there's giving away money, but it's also bringing awareness to the committee in itself. Because I think it's like it's like the little known secret of Northborough that this fund even exists. So what we've been trying to do in the last couple of years, since we kind of have all like new members on there, is to, you know, bring awareness. So we've attended like the summer concerts. We've done flyers at the town clerk's office in the library. We've done press releases just to try to like let the public know that, you know, this exists. We don't get any town budget, you know, for this at all. It's all what we raise. So what we award is, you know, based on, you know, what we have in our account. So that's a big part, is bringing awareness not only for donations, but also to increase it so students in Northborough realize it. So it's easy to go through their guidance departments because they usually are the ones that have a system to let senior students know that they have, you know, all sorts of different opportunities for scholarships. This year we awarded 6. They happen to all be from Algonquin, but we do contact a lot of the other area high schools as well. Assabet, St. John's, AMSA, you know, anywhere where it's possible that there could be a Northborough student in there. And we do publicize that as well through different groups on Facebook, community groups, and you know, through the like different avenues that we always use for a little bit of publicity to make sure that students know about it. You know, if it's not a school that they may be attending that we don't know of, they're certainly, you know, able to apply.
Well, that's impressive. Mike, would you like to ask a question or?
Yeah. Thank you, Julianne. Yeah, and thank you, Erica, for you know, wanting to be on the scholarship committee.
Of course.
You know, certainly, you know, looking over your resume, certainly impressive. Obviously noticed that, you've had a lot of service. I guess you could say serving those who serve. And I was, if you don't mind me asking, just curious, have you ever served in the U.S. Armed Forces?
So I have not, but my husband is retired Air Force.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
So
Well,
yeah, so that's
okay.
kind of where I ended up. Just that's where I was when I started working. So
Gotcha. Well, you can thank him for serving on behalf
thank
of
you.
us, and then also I'm sure thank you for serving those who serve. So that's great
Thank you.
that you have that experience. And no, I like what you were saying before, about the thinking about different ways to fundraise and bring money in so that you can do good with it. So that's great. And I don't really have any other questions, so thank you.
So my understanding is that, so, on the tax bill, there's a check off for
Yeah.
the organizations that we want to donate to. And since many people don't even see their tax bill, right?
Right.
That's a tough one. So you have a lot of other work to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it sounds like you've got some great ideas. And so now it's your turn to ask us any questions.
Oh, I honestly, I don't have a whole lot I don't really have any questions. I know Liz and I have talked about it. And she's filled me in on some of the roles and responsibilities. So I don't really have anything. I've kind of got them all answered.
And I know, Erica, you're on another committee. Refresh me. It's
I'm on, well,
Children and Youth Services.
yes, the
Yes.
Youth Commission, which I'm sure which was going to become something else. I don't know how they're going to do, if they're going to stay the two committees or will be combined, but I'm sure I will know soon.
Right. So if you remember, Mike and I will, make our recommendations tonight to go to the select board.
Yep.
And we're meeting on July 15th. So that's when the approval process really happens.
Okay. That sounds good.
And Liz, do you have any last comments?
I do not. I know Erica has shown interest. She did come to our last meeting just to see, what was happening. We actually didn't have a quorum because right now we should have 6 people. We only have 4. So we hope to fill, another spot too after Erica. So yeah, so
you have
she
2 more openings?
We have 2 altogether.
Okay.
Yeah. So if Erica fills one, we have an additional that we would love to have filled.
Well, so good. You're
Getting there.
progress.
We're
Yeah.
getting there. I know it's a small group, and fundraising is a lot, and so what we always try to do is look at small work but big result. So we did do an online auction last fall, and it did really well with minimal time commitment, I guess is the word. So those type of things is what we're looking at too. Obviously, people who donate on through their tax bills, that's great, but like you said, that's not a big part of our funding. But so yeah, so we're always open to ideas as long as we have the manpower to do it. We don't want to get, everybody works and they're busy too, and it's and not everybody's thing to approach businesses. But when we did the auction in the fall, we made what was it, 2,300, I think it was. So it's pretty good for our first time around. And we started late. So this year we hope to start, end of summer, beginning of the fall, and, have a jump start on that for November.
Yeah. And sometimes things just need time to catch on.
Yeah.
Right.
People start looking forward to it. So thank you very much for coming to our meeting.
You're welcome.
Good to meet you, Mike.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
So you will get notification from, I guess, Diane or Angie after the July 15th meeting.
Sure. That sounds great.
Great.
Okay. Nice to
Thanks.
see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and then we have Vicky and Fran will be representing the Council on Aging, and Cindy Moore for the Elderly Tax Fund Committee. And I'll admit all of them right now. One moment.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
We're
Good.
well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Am I on time or early for the to help out with the taxation elderly fund?
You are, so this is the next one that we're doing, and we are as close to staying on time as we've ever been. So
Congratulations.
yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
So Vicky is she's going to be for the Council on Aging and for the Elderly Tax Fund. So I don't know if you guys just want to do that and in conjunction. Fran
Well,
and
let's
Cindy are
start
here for
with,
questions. So
it says on the agenda, Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund. So let's start with that. And you know, just so we all know each other, Mike Tejan is our new select board member. Cynthia, you kind of recently joined this committee,
A couple
or?
years ago, actually. So
Oh,
so a
gosh.
couple years ago, that's okay. A couple years ago, I joined the Elderly and Taxation Committee, whatever it's called. Yeah, and so I've been on it for a while, although we didn't meet last year. I don't think we had a quorum of people to be able to meet. But yeah, no, I've been on it for a while now. I've actually re-upped. So I was on it for however long I was initially appointed and then asked to continue. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And Fran, we'll do Council on Aging after we discuss, if you know, if Vicky has any questions, as Cynthia or something like that. That's how it usually goes.
I know the drill. Thank you.
Okay. So Vicky, welcome to town.
Yes, we love it here.
Oh,
We've been here about a year and a half, and I've been so impressed by the genuine welcoming and friendly nature of so many people, whether it be in the local stores or restaurants or within this community. It's really quite impressive.
So Vicky, I have to say that your application is extremely impressive. You've had a lot of a very interesting and long background in finance and whatnot. And now you're looking to join this committee for basically assisting people with taxes.
Yeah.
So I looked on the website today, Cynthia, and it looks like most of your meetings are, of course, you know, understandably conducted in executive session. So I don't have like the biggest understanding of the committee, but I would imagine that a large part of it is fundraising. So, Vicky, I was wondering if you have any thoughts at all about how to help with that. So it's a tough thing these days.
Yeah, so I actually don't know much about the committee. And so I'm actually interested to hear that fundraising is a component of what is done. I didn't actually know how the funding, where the revenue comes from to fund the activities of the committee. Is it mostly from raising from the community, or grants? Where does the revenue come from? I thought it was perhaps a town budget line, but perhaps not.
Could I chime in?
Yes, please.
Please.
Sure. So for as long as I've been involved, we have not done any fundraising activities, although I think that the prospect of doing that is quite exciting and much needed. The funding source is there is a block of money that's available. And what the taxation committee has done in the past is we have determined how much we were going to distribute and how much we were going to hold back in reserve so that we would have more to distribute in the future. And you know, part of that is because there hasn't been a plan for how to replenish those funds. The funds do come from donations. And I would say that the need always exceeds the amount that we're able to distribute. And you know, that's a sad thing. And so by trying to be fiscally conservative or appropriate, I should say, just so there's something there for next year to meet people's needs, we never went and spent it all. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess I would probably want to do some brainstorming to think about, where donations have come from in the past. You know, the Friends of Northborough, who support the senior center, obviously have mastered some of the nuances of fundraising in this community, because I think they're a great resource for the senior center, and we may be able to learn something from their efforts and how it might help for this effort as well.
Yeah, I think fundraising would be great.
So, I guess I didn't misspeak asking about the fundraising, but just, for the public on the website, it does say that we established in 2001 at town meeting to accept the provisions of the Mass General Law that allows us to have the checkbox on the tax bills. But as we just discussed with scholarship, many people don't see their tax bills. So
yeah.
And I guess to allow you to accept donations is what was voted on. So Cynthia, maybe you could just, or unless Vicky knows the schedule, because I think you accept applications during certain months and then.
Yeah, off the top of my head, honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head because it's been more than a year since we met, right? But there was definitely a schedule. There's a form that gets filled out. There is assistance from the town in case you need help with filling out the form. And I would also say that there are often times when forms are received late due to extenuating circumstances. Things happen, catastrophic things happen in people's lives. And so the committee meets. The way that we start off my meeting is sort of having like your typical like a board meeting where you would have a financial report about where are we at, how account how many people filed their applications, and the applications were completed, because there's a lot of people who start the application and then they don't always get completed over time. So how many people started and finished their applications? What kind of a need is there? And then when we actually get into a conversation about dollar amounts, in the past, it's tend to involve some pretty sensitive information. So that's where the executive committee comes in, going to executive session, so that we're not publicly talking about people's individually hardship circumstances. And in general, we come up with a formula that we think is equitable with some variables attached to that, and vote on that. And we have some back and forth about that, some good conversation about that. And then we come out of executive session and we vote on the budget allocation that we've agreed to. And that sort of finishes up the whole process itself.
And as part of the committee, do you review one by one the applications, or is that sort of done offline?
Yeah, so we do not know the names of the people. So for example, we might say person 1, person 2, person 3, right? Family 1, family 2, family 3, right? Is a 3 families with some situations going on. But we really try to create a privacy wall. And so that we're also not making decisions about, people we know or like, or something like that, right? So
I would hope it would be that way.
Yeah. Sure. And then, yeah, I don't know how else to describe it to you.
I guess
it's not as complicated as it sounds.
There's just the simple matter of ticking the boxes that, this person meets the qualifications, because there's a list of 4 or so things that people have to meet. So I just wondered, does the committee do that together, or is there sort of a group that reviews them?
The town brings us the people who have met the criteria.
Got it. Okay.
So they are doing all the vetting. They are doing all the data collection, the form, the whatever things that have to be provided to verify the need. The town does all of that. We don't get involved in any of that. So again, we protect the privacy of citizens, right? And then when we come together, there's a body of money, and there's a list of people who need help. And then there's a sort of like a supplemental list, like maybe they were $1 over in the income criteria, or maybe they just moved to town the day after the deadline closed, or, you know, their house burnt down, something terrible has happened. So it's like sort of like a supplemental list too. And then we go through and we take care of the people who have met all the criteria within the amount that we've decided to allocate. And then we come back and consider if there's anything else we want to change and what our next meeting should be about.
Great. And I had the impression that it's not like a monthly meeting, because it just really comes up when the bills, taxes are due.
I think the most we ever met was twice in a year, maybe 3 times in a year. There might have been once where we like we could only meet for a quick hour or something, and we all had to go for some reason. I don't know if it was their holiday or something. It's pretty quick. You know, once the biggest part is deciding, the part that takes the most amount of time is deciding how much of the bulk we want to distribute versus how much we want to retain, right, for future benefit. And if we had a fundraising strategy, or, you know, a replenishment strategy at least, then you know, we might have that decision might be a lot easier. Right? And then what's the formula we want to allocate in terms of all the people who have applied?
And when do the meetings generally take place? What part of the year?
The town generally like reaches out and they're like, hey, is everybody free on Wednesday or something?
But is it usually in September or February, or do you have any sense?
I'm sorry, I would have to go back and look, to be honest with you. But I want to say that each time that we've met, I think once it was during the summer.
Okay.
And once it was when it was kind of cold out.
No problem. Just to get some idea.
Yeah, and you know, in general, what we do is we meet after the applications have closed and they've been, you know, processed, right? So like all the people have a period of time to get their stuff back to us, right? Back to the town, I should say. And then the town calls the meeting, the town administrator calls the meeting. And I think the longest that we ever met was about 2 hours. And we had a really long list, and the town hadn't met in a long time. So we had a lot of people, we had a long list.
That's helpful. Just to get some sense of what happens. It certainly does intrigue me to think about. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what?
No, how we might identify opportunities for funding. You know, it doesn't sound like there's been necessarily a lot of fundraising done in the past.
No.
Is there some kind of allocation from the town that supplements it each year?
Not that I know of.
So you just have a base amount, and it's just dwindling every year.
Well, it depends on how generous people are in their taxes.
I see. It's that checkbox in the taxes that funds things. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But you know, I as a disabled person myself, you know, and I have my AARP card, you know, and I'm fortunate not to need the support, but I, you know, value and appreciate the fact that we have people here who are older and wiser and differently abled than myself who need help. And I think that they supporting them to continue to be part of this community is really important to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
I look forward to having enough people so we can meet.
Yes, thank you. It sounds like a very worthwhile group, and I'm glad there's something like this in town. I think I might have mentioned in my application that we were part of the board on the Ashland Emergency Fund. When we lived in Ashland, we were in that town for quite a few years, and that we did have donations that we would solicit, and that was a wonderful resource for people because it could help people in emergency situations. So it's nice to have something like that available. So anyways, thanks for answering the questions.
Sure.
So I'll turn it over to Mike and see if he has any comments or questions.
Yeah, no, thank you, Julianne. No, my only real question, and you may have kind of answered this at the beginning, but you know, just sort of what drew you to Vicky to this committee. You know, either and you can answer both if you want, you know, the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund or Council on Aging. Just kind of curious.
So I'm a retired person. I have time to give back to the community. We're new to Northborough, and so it took us a little time to find out where we might step in and try to be helpful. We got connected through the senior center. Kendra has been a great resource, and at the time there was an opening on at this committee, and she happened to mention it to me because I had said I was looking for ways to volunteer and ideally something where I could be more engaged with the town. And this seemed like a great opportunity. While it's, nice that it's not something that takes an enormous amount of time, I did feel like I could do more than just a committee that met a couple times a year. So that's why when the Council on Aging opening came up, I said, well, I'd be happy to do that as well if that does have an opening. So it was really more that I'm enthusiastic about engaging with the town, trying to be helpful in ways that I can be. And this committee was the one that came up first. And when I realized it really didn't sound like it was going to take a significant commitment of time, I was happy to try to do something more than just the one committee.
Great, thanks.
I think this is the perfect entree into Fran's
Right, I set up the
explanation
segue.
of what Council on Aging will.
And if I just may, I looked it up while we were talking. May and March is when we met. So once when it was cold, once when it was warm.
That's great. See, I'm an extremely detail-oriented and pragmatic person, and I'm thinking we usually take vacations at the end of September or September and October, and I feared that you would tell me that's exactly when you meet, so at least that's put that concern to rest, perhaps.
So shall we move to Council on Aging, and Fran will tell you how busy you'll be on that committee?
Shall I go? I can go.
If you'd like. Yes, and it was so nice to see you, Cynthia.
Same here, and congratulations, Michael.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
And Vicky, welcome to town. And
Thank you so much.
Say hello if you see me, okay? All
exactly.
Right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I have a little bit of an advantage because I've actually met Fran and even been to one of the meetings that she chaired. So
that's right. That's right. So we did just meet just last week, I guess it was. And bump into at town meeting. I will just as a curious note, I'll let you know that I actually was one of the first members on the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee when it was started in 2001. It's a very small committee. It stayed that way, and it never. I mean, you can go back and look at the minutes and the agendas since at least 2010 on the town website. But fundraising was never a focus. It really was the Taxation Fund Committee, as Julianne said, is based in Mass General Law. It's about the checkoff box for relief to the taxes. It has been generously supported in part for decades by a specific family that's supported in addition to the checkoff boxes. But it is a challenge because most people don't pay their taxes by checking, if you have a mortgage. Right. So it's not actually soliciting funding from the Friends of the Council on Aging for the Elderly Disabled Taxation Fund probably is even a better way of doing it than trying to, tap into the same group, Anyway, it's interesting because the fundraising was never a big deal. And I'd be curious as to whether a 3-person board, because 2 people are staff and they're not going to be allowed to participate, I would think, in fundraising because it's not a 501c3.
Right.
It's different. So anyway, but you'll learn more about that, and I'm sure the town treasurer or collector would be happy to sit down and talk to you about the nuts and bolts.
Because I know they weren't available today, and it's certainly something that could be followed up after the fact. I lament if it sounded like one of the things that was said was the need exceeds the resources available.
Always.
And that's sad. So it would be great if we could do something about that.
Right. And Jocelyn at the senior center, as part of her outreach, does help people with the applications, and she also helps screen them for all the different programs that can provide some property tax relief to the older adults as well as
Yep.
people who live with disability. So as you know, on the Council on Aging, we meet the second Tuesday of the month from
Yep.
5:30 to 7 at the senior center. Don't worry about vacation. You can miss up to 3 meetings a year without without cause.
Yep.
Before we would boot you. So
And you
I think that you'll
don't,
be all set.
if there was a meeting that came up that I could Zoom in, you don't do virtual attendance, right?
So historically, they have not. I mean, through COVID, no, they met either in person, in the parking lot, I understand, or however they did it. I wasn't part of it during COVID, and when I was on the Council on Aging before COVID, there was no such thing as Zoom. So,
Yep.
my understanding is that there is a certain amount of direction from the select board as to having all meetings be hybrid. I don't know exactly at what point in time that will become a directive that we will have to adjust to, but at the moment it's an in-person from 5:30 to 7, while the senior center is open on Tuesdays till 7. Because as you know, that with only 3 full-time staff people, they are very limited in their ability to host or participate in things outside the normal business hours. So, as I said, the Council on Aging is a 9-member board, and we're on, I will ask, and I mean, can follow up with Angie. There is one person that just got reappointed, but then left. And I know, and then we also have a 1 year to fill in. If it hasn't already been decided, I would love to see Vicky if she's nominated and voted in to be a full 3-year term. But I think that's an Angie thing or administrative office, but if you could look at that, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that and let you know.
All right, thank you. So I don't know if you have any questions. I know that you got to see us in action last Tuesday, so.
Which was very helpful. And I think I've actually gotten a lot of my questions answered. I mean, I have not so much about Council on Aging per se. I mean, I would ask, well, it could be Fran, it could Michael, Julianne. What are you folks hoping to get from the Council on Aging from a town perspective?
That's a good question. So for me, it would what I think the Council on Aging has been able to accomplish is to provide support and kind of like just a good life for people who are in town, retired, or not even retired, who are senior citizens, to provide services. I know that they provide things like, helping to fill out applications, Medicare assistance type things. And I think our senior center does a wonderful job with programs for senior citizens. And, also establishing a place where it's like a community and you can just kind of drop in and see a friend or pick up a ping pong game. Or we're not doing ping pong anymore?
I don't think we have a ping pong table. Oh, maybe.
I
thought it was just a pool table. I don't know.
Remember.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Okay, sorry. But board games, right?
There's a lot of puzzles,
Yes,
people working on puzzles, I'll tell you.
Anyway, that's a very good question, Vicky. So Mike, your turn.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say, as a new select board member, what I would kind of be looking for on top of, the things that you had mentioned, Julianne, right, is to make sure that we're getting that perspective and that we're watching out for that significant group of people who are, you know, getting older in town, right? The baby boomer population, right? Certainly one of the largest in history of the United States. So there's certainly a lot of those folks. I've got gray hair, but I'm not quite there yet. So you know, it's good to, you know, to have, making sure we're getting that feedback and perspective on even things that may not seem that would affect maybe a particular population that the Council on Aging that would cater to, but you know, making sure things that are going on in town, things that are being proposed and talked about, you know, making sure that we're getting that that there's a group meeting for that perspective. They're talking about it, they're doing things, and they're advocating for those folks in town and bringing that forward to different boards, committees, and particularly the select board and town administration. So that's what I would be liking to what I would be looking for from Council on Aging.
Great.
So Vicky, I do want just to add, you know, the Council on Aging is an advisory board. So we don't have fiduciary responsibility. So we're really meant to support support the senior center director and the path that she's looking to put the senior center on, as well as to provide her with input from those of us who are of that population, you know, what the needs and interests may be. I can tell you that moving forward, as you probably know from the first meeting you had, my objective is to get a more significant buy-in from a budgetary standpoint from the town for the senior center operations and facilities. Something as simple as, again, to Mike's point, with the programming and the services that we want to provide, that we advocate for and advise to Kendra on. There's only $1,500 in an $81 million budget allocated for programming for the senior center. So, I mean, there is going to be advocacy towards an increase in support from the town, not just philosophically, but budgetarily. And it does not involve fundraising, because that's what the Friends are for. And we are not allowed to fundraise at all. We're not allowed to do any of that.
Yeah. I think we are so fortunate to have that senior center in this town. You know, I mean, Mike, I know I looked a bit at your background, and I know you have certainly a strong financial background, and particularly focused in some of the things around retirement. And Julianne, I know the statement that, forgive me, that you gave and running up to the election about what were things that were important to the town, and especially in the post-pandemic world, and about having Wi-Fi connectivity. So the senior center has been such a great resource for people, one, for building community, for having Wi-Fi connectivity for people who need to have a place to go, helping. I know there are a lot of more issues with seniors feeling a sense of isolation or even depression from loneliness. And again, with the programs that are offered, in 2020, about 25% of Northborough was 60 plus. I think that percentage has probably grown. So I would love to see the town recognize the enormous value that has been provided by having that senior center. Kendra's doing, I think, an extraordinary job. I'm so impressed by her creativity. The latest thing she did just this past weekend, the fair that she was at with a creative way of engaging children by making Legos figures. It was written up in one of the social media posts, I think, today. So at any rate, I'm very excited about working on the Council of Aging to try to do whatever I can do to help foster support for the senior center, because I think it is such an amazing resource for the town. I do not, you know, people from other towns come here because places around us don't have a place like our place, you know?
So, you know what I just learned today, Vicki, that at the Friends, almost 40% of the members of the Friends of the Northborough Senior Center do not live in town.
Oh,
They live
interesting.
in other communities, but they support our senior center through the Friends.
Yeah.
For the programs and the programs that they enjoy.
That's
a
impressive.
testament right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to quite a few fun programs myself, and everything from lectures by someone from Mass Audubon Society to the recent dinner with one of the singers from the Platters. Maybe that predates you. It sort of predates me, but he was quite extraordinary. He was great. So anyways, so hopefully I will have the opportunity to work with Fran in the council.
And I would say that even though there may be a slight delay because of the summer schedule of the select board, regardless of between now and when they do make their nominations and votes, you're welcome to come to the meetings and participate, just like I have you on the email, again, just as a resident. If there was any official voting, you wouldn't be allowed to take part of it, but other than that, your your participation is welcome.
Yeah, it was great to realize that, because I enjoyed coming to the meeting. It was like maybe last week. It wasn't that long ago. And so I feel like regardless, I can still come and keep abreast of what's going on.
Absolutely.
So if there are no more questions or comments, I just need to tell you that Mike and I deliberate after this meeting, and then we make a recommendation to the full board. And our next meeting is July 15th. So that's probably before your next meeting, it sounds like, right? No?
It's right after, because we're the second Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we'll meet on the 9th.
Yep.
But again, you're welcome to come and participate. I
appreciate that. Thank you.
So do you have any questions for us, or?
I think we've pretty much touched on the things that I was wondering about. And as I said, it's been helpful to have been to a meeting, because it's sort of given me a better sense of what the council was really about.
Well, it was lovely meeting you. Nice to see
you
again.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yes, have a good night, you guys.
And thank you for taking the time.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
All right, take care.
Good seeing you, Fran. Take care.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
So next on our agenda should be deliberation. So Kelly, based on her education, her background, her enthusiasm, and support from Greg Young, I think she's, obviously a great choice for a Conservation Commission. Do you have any?
No, I would agree. I don't think there's any real concern or debate there. I mean, really, with any of these, great folks, great ladies that are putting themselves out there for these committees. But Kelly, ready to move forward.
So I'm going to make a motion that I move that the interview subcommittee vote to recommend Kelly Marston for appointment to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term at the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the Select Board. Is there a second? Yeah. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Angie, I'm doing 3-year terms for everyone. I know Erica should be 3 years, and they just asked for Victoria to be 3 years. I believe Kelly is 3 years too, but you'll let us know if there's a change before we vote at select board meeting.
Yep, definitely. I'll look and let you guys know.
Okay.
Great.
So next we had Erica. I mean, her background also dealt with exactly this kind of committee that she's willing to serve on and has already participated. So I think we should move her forward. But
absolutely. I mean, I think her track record of serving others, fits very well with the mission of the scholarship committee. So let's move forward.
So I will make the motion. I move the interview subcommittee vote to recommend Erica Zeiger for appointment to the scholarship committee for a 3-year term at the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the select board. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. and I vote aye. And then we have Victoria Johnson. Okay, so we should do them separately.
Sure.
The Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee. I mean, you know, we can discuss her for both. Her background is very impressive. Her, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I think she's up to fairly recently was a licensed a certified CPA. You know, she's, you know, with her accounting background and, you know, director of finance and accounting, you know, she's, I think, yeah, has the experience to not only look at numbers, but to make some hard decisions on how to allocate them. So I think she'll fit in well. And you know, I didn't realize how infrequently they meet. So I'm glad that she is on, you know, that second piece there with Council of Aging, and they do kind of fit together, you know, in the same ballpark. So, but yeah, no, I certainly would move her forward for the Taxation Fund Committee, the elderly disabled.
Okay, and we kind of combined it with Council on Aging, so but I'll do the motion separately, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I move the interview subcommittee vote to recommend Victoria Johnson for appointment to the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee for a 3-year term at the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the Select Board. Second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And then I move the interview committee vote to recommend Victoria Johnson for appointment to the Council on Aging for a 3-year term at the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the Select Board. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. And then there is the business of the minutes, which we discussed with staff, and Mike, you would be able to approve the minutes, but you have to watch the meetings. So if you're willing to do that at our next meeting, and we can even maybe meet quickly before July 15th and approve those meetings, you know, like 10 minutes before our July.
Yeah, we could figure something out. Yeah, I didn't know if I know there's only 2 of us, if I abstained and your yes vote would be enough to push it, or that no, it would have to be both of us.
It would have, yeah, because
Okay.
one is not quite a majority, even of 2.
Right. Yeah, you can't really have a majority. Yeah, it's 50-50. So, although I think you carry more weight than I do, but
Thank you. But not in this circumstance.
not in the official circumstance. So,
Right.
yeah, I can certainly review those previous meetings, and then we will get those approved at a future date.
Great. So Angie, do you have any other business for us, or shall we conclude this meeting?
Nope, that's it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So
Yeah,
I'll
thanks for
make a
getting this
motion to
done, Andy.
adjourn.
Yeah.
Motion
Is
to
there-
adjourn.
I'll second that.
Or,
And all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Have a great night,
Thank you very
guys.
much,
All right.
Thank
everyone.
you. All right. Bye.
Good night.